To me, service is a way of life. It is what we are called to do as humans, to serve one another. And so I just feel like if you have the mindset of a servant, then you're on the right track.
All right, gentlemen. It looks like we are live on Facebook. My name is Kenya Cook.
And I'm Richard Roundtree. Welcome, everyone.
This is an awesome Sunday. A lot of great things going on this week. Last week, Richard and we continued our conversation with Miss Kim Thomas from Claim Life, and we were talking about self-love. Now, before we go, Kim Thomas, check her out on Facebook, Eastern Standard Time at 8 p.m. on Tuesdays. Check out Kim Thomas, Massey. Richard, during those conversations, though, you made some great points about how you demonstrate self-love. You mind sharing that with us again?
Like I said, self-love in the show is very important, and I think sometimes you got to have a little self-discipline to give yourself a little self-love. And this year, I really dove deep into Kundalini Yoga, so I've been consistently meditating every day, at least 30 minutes to an hour every day. And through that meditative process, I was able to cleanse out a lot of things that were not so good for me, such as drinking and eating meat, and just kind of purified my body through the meditative process, and in an organic way, not like I'm restricting anything, not like I'm judging myself or being full of guilt, but just really just cleansing myself in a pure way through the meditative process. So that's what I did for myself in 2018, and I feel great.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. And even after that, I went and got a little app for myself for my phone, and that app is basically called I Am Changing, and you can put whatever it is and track whatever behavior. If you want to do more exercises, if you want to cut out sugar, cut out coffee, whatever it is that you want to cut. But what's cool about it is that it's a motivational tool because it shows you your progress. It has a little piece in it where it'll tell you, you have a pledge that you have to say, and it has some motivational affirmations inside of it. So I'm thinking that as we talked about loving yourself, it does start with actually how you treat yourself and what you put in your body.
Yeah, and that's so great, because I think journaling is a big process for self-growth and self-love and self-development, and it's good that it's now technology is available for us, so we can be able to easily, take account of what's going on in our life. It's journaling what's going on, what's working and what's not. I call that taking inventory on our life. So I'm happy that app exists. But if you guys don't have access to that app, I think a good old-fashioned notebook with a pen and paper works just as good. Also, it's always good to journal. And I think that's a very good step for self-love, because if you don't know what's really going on through your thoughts and your words, then it's kind of hard to love yourself.
That's right. That is very true. Very true. Well, this week we're joined with Julius Lewis. Julius is a freelance graphic artist who is changing the world through his missionary travels. He's been to Kenya, Nepal, to China. He has a trip coming up now. He's been to Israel. He's going to Myanmar. I've never heard of Myanmar, but he's going there to make a difference. So, Julius, welcome.
Welcome, Julius.
Thank you, brothers. Thank you. It is an honor to be on this show, man. I'm glad you guys thought enough of me to invite me on. So thank you.
Welcome. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. These were those famous words spoken by John F. Kennedy, our 35th president, during his inauguration on January 20th, 1961. That statement spawned volunteerism, although the roots for volunteerism go a lot deeper than just 1961 and actually having some presence back during the time of Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, wow. I thought actually Donald Trump came up with that statement. No,
Let him tell it.
I'm just busting a guy's shop. Melania Trump came up with it. No, so I'm gonna take from Wikipedia. Wikipedia said volunteering is generally considered an altruistic activity where an individual or group provides service for no financial or social gain to benefit another person, group, or organization. Volunteering is also renowned for skill development and is often intended to promote goodness or to improve human quality of life. This is Wikipedia.
Wikipedia. Julius, Let's talk about what does service mean to you?
To me, service is a way of life. It is what we are called to do as humans, to serve one another. And so I just feel like if you have the mindset of a servant, then you're on the right track. In our culture, especially Western culture, people often have the mindset of wanting to be served rather than serving someone. And I don't mean that as in well, no, I do mean like true service is to put others before yourself. So yeah.
That's very interesting. You said it. I was listening to this podcast by Gary Vee. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Gary
Oh,
Vee,
yes.
social media marketing genius, I think. And he says, a lot of people think like, oh, I want to just become the boss of my job so I can just be the man. But when you become the boss of a company, you don't become the man. You have the responsibility to serve your employees. And so people
Absolutely.
want to be like the king, but they don't want to serve. And true kings serve. And serving
Right.
is fundamental. I guess for African Americans, we have such a negative it gives us a negative connotation because of slavery, and we were kind of forced to serve people in a
Right.
very malicious way. So I think
Right.
we have that negative taste in our mouth when it comes to serving, but serving is natural, and that's what true kings and true leaders do. They serve. It's not about being catered to or get people feeding you grapes like it's coming to America or something like that. So, but so
Absolutely.
I'm so happy you have that. I'm so happy you have that mindset, Julius.
Now, Richard, you've actually chosen a path of healing and restoring. And through Kundalini Yoga and through your organization, Chrysalis, expound upon how that is your expression of service.
Well, with Kundalini Yoga, that's their whole thing is serving each other, serving. I mean, it is an ancient technology of yoga that uses that the kings back in it's a regal yoga that was used back in India thousands of years ago, and it's brought to America by Yogi Bhajan. And their whole thing is about serving other people, helping the poor, helping the children, and whatnot. And I work with them through their teacher training program. I help with the new teachers that's up and coming, training them, making sure they have the proper knowledge and information and the utilities to become successful teachers themselves, so they can go out there and serve. And I've done a lot of work with the homeless in Los Angeles, serving at soup kitchens, working for this organization called Chrysalis, which I think is a beautiful organization where they help those who have been homeless, who have been to jail, who have been through drug rehab, help them get back on their feet, learn real life skills, teaching them how to fish, not giving them fish. Real life skills such as resume writing, computer skills, interview skills, giving them clothes so they can go out to interviews, and they have a 90+% job rate. Job rate. So that's pretty good for people that's been
Ah,
out of. That's pretty good for people that've been out of like the matrix, I want to call it, but that's out of the real world for so long. Maybe in jail or maybe homeless on Skid Row, to come back and to get a job and be a working adult again in our society. That it is truly a beautiful process to see.
wow, wow.
Yeah.
And Julius, you're actively raising money so that you're able to go overseas. Let's talk about what you have going on right now with your next trip.
Yep. So I've been doing mission work for a couple of years now, and this my most recent trip will be to Myanmar, which is Southeast Asia. We're going to continue to build on the relationship that my church started several years ago with an orphanage there, and we're going to spend time with the kids. We're going to help the high school students prepare for their exit exam, this huge exam that they take, and by helping teach them English. And then we're going to do a big crusade on Christmas Day. So I'll be there on Christmas Day. So it's a really cool thing. It's a really great relationship that we've built, and I'm excited to be a part of that trip. It's
Now,
fun.
with the part you're talking about with working with the high school students,
Yeah.
do you guys have a curriculum that you're going to be working with? You're going to kind of find out when you get there and supplement what they already have in place?
Yeah, I think it will be some supplementation, but we're definitely, I think, gonna lean more towards helping them understand English, because all their whole exam is in English, and a lot of them they're are having to take the test without knowing English fluently. So it's creating an obstacle for them. So hopefully we'll be able to help them kind of work through some of the more difficult stuff that they're going to encounter on the exam.
Well, that's gonna be a crash course in English.
Oh yeah.
uh, English is a tough
Trash.
language, man. It's a
Yeah, it
tough
is.
language.
It is.
It is a tough language. Well, both of you guys have awesome stories, here at home and abroad about how you're servicing the community through helping people, whether it's filling in skill gaps or bringing resources. As a person, when I worked in higher education, I had the opportunity to serve students from underprivileged communities. And I quickly learned that you weren't just teaching a certain subject. You were really teaching a student on an empty stomach, someone who's burdened with life challenges, and we as a team, my staff and I, we were forced to deal with those basic issues before we could start to educate the person. And
Mhm.
that part of serving leadership, like you were talking about earlier, Richard, that's where I kind of learned that if you're the quote unquote boss, you're actually the lowest person on the totem pole because you're holding everyone else up, because you're trying to take care of their needs. And that level of altruism, I think, is something that when it's not in your life actively, it's easier for external influences to beat up your self-esteem, to beat up for you not to love yourself. Because if you're only serving you, you'll never be satisfied, because our love of ourselves is insatiable. But when that's mixed against loving others and caring in our communities, I think we get a healthy balance so that we're more whole people. What are your thoughts, gentlemen?
Mhm.
Uh, Julius.
Go ahead, Richard.
Okay, okay. And we talked about this with Kim. Is like when you truly love yourself, you're not selfish. When you truly love yourself, you see yourself in everybody else. So you truly want to help other people. You truly want to give people. Only when you have insecurities and you're not loving yourself properly, then you have that selfish approach to love. You have that sense of scarcity when it comes to love. But when you really love yourself, you take that time, you have a daily practice or daily discipline where you really go deep inside, where you're journaling, and you take the time to really see what works and what doesn't work. You audit yourself and you love yourself. You really organically help others. It's no question, no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Mhm.
The
Yeah, and I
natural
feel like
transition.
just in regards to self-love, self-care, however you want to say it, it's like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. And
Right.
so if you're empty in the area of loving self or caring for yourself, then you're going to be pouring from an empty place. But if you're
Exactly.
full, then everything you do is just an overflow from what you already have.
Hmm. Yeah.
Very nice. I
I,
love it.
we live in a fractal universe.
Yeah.
Fractal
Mm,
universe.
say that. Well, that's a good thing, though. So there's different ways to serve. Everyone might not be able to go overseas, and everyone might not, be able to commit themselves to, a chrysalis, or have the discipline to learn, Kundalini yoga, or become an executive director of a school. What are some of the different ways you guys think that people can serve that doesn't really cost a lot or take up a lot of their time or resources?
I would say start with the people that are right around you. Your family, your sister, your brother, your mom, your dad, your neighbor, your next door neighbor. Like a lot of times and I've been guilty of this as well, but a lot of times we look for a platform to serve
Oh,
from rather than serving right where we are. And I've been in this process of, as I've just matured and just understand more of who I am and what God has called me to, I realized that you shouldn't look for a platform in regards to serving people. You should just serve, you know, and
be the
everything will,
platform.
yeah, yeah. Or
Oh yeah, I think
not even
about
be the platform, just be.
just be.
Just
I
be.
think about somebody asked me, "Hey, why are you taking your neighbor's trash can in?" I was like, well, I got to take mine in, and theirs is only about 5 feet from mine,
Yeah.
and I got two hands. Hey, I can just take that in.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to, like you said, just be. It doesn't have to be something elaborate, a platform, something that people are going to, ring the bell. I saw a little meme that said, if you go feed the homeless, leave your cell phone at home. We don't have to broadcast it, just how we take an extra step. And I know I don't want to generalize that because we still got a little time to play with here. But I said that I bring in my neighbor's trash. What are some like little things that somebody could do? So we want to get people thinking about this. I want to stay here for a minute. What can we do? What are some things we can do to serve people that doesn't cost us if we really think about it?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I think? Julius hit it right on the head. Just being present. Every moment you should be serving. There's a great book that say you don't need a title to be a leader, and you don't need a platform to be a server. Every moment is your opportunity to serve. But I think, the people that have it the worst are like some of those people that work at the grocery stores or they're bussing your table at a restaurant. Be nice to them. Give them a smile. Make them feel like they're important. Because, everybody puts them down. And not everybody, but they feel lowly. You can feel it. It emits from their presence. Just be nice to those type of people that have those type of jobs instead of just being demanding and like saying, why my food is not here? How come you overcharge me? Just be nice to those people. I think they need it a lot. And the elderly is very important too, especially in the big cities. Elderly people seem like they're lost and they seem like they're put out of place. So I think you be nice to those two groups of people. That make a big difference.
Yeah. And I think that is, it may seem like a small thing, but it's so significant in the grand scheme of life, being kind to people because, for one, we never know when we might end up in that same situation that that person is in. And just, it's the small, I feel like you can do a million small things that will be so much more impactful than one huge thing on a big stage and all of that.
Right.
It's about, a bunch of small things. It's like you're building character, you're building integrity by doing those smaller things consistently.
Yeah, and it's contagious too, because once you start doing that, other people feed off of it. I think we live in a society where it's all or nothing. Everybody's looking for the big play, but it's really the small little thing that's really going to make social change and is really going to help us evolve as human beings.
And with that being said, is why it's important that I say, hey guys, let's flesh this out a little bit, because I wanted that top of consciousness that it doesn't take a big voila to help somebody. It can be something small. I just got back and I was running a little bit late, but I went to a train show not too far from where I live at, and the person I was riding with, Eddie Money, Eddie Spaghetti, he was talking about how when cars merge in traffic, and there's normally when cars are merging, one car go, and they kind of merge. But you got that one person that kind of want to know, I want to go first, and they mess it up. And I was telling him, like, wow, that's like a universal sign for people to understand, like, we should be trying to do this. Looking for ways to come together. And through service, we fill in each other's gaps. We're talking about the service worker who may be underappreciated, telling them thank you. Or the one young lady that's in the impossible line at the grocery store. The elderly woman is paying in pennies, and then you have the impatient person. It's like they got to go there running late, and they're screaming at that person, and you come up behind and you tell the cashier, hey, don't worry about it. You're doing a great job. That guy's a jerk. I love how you stay calm. And you letting that older woman know, you know what, you've earned the right to take as long as you want to take. Hearing that and somebody saying that, I believe it does resonate with people because it comes from a genuine place, and people can feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it costs nothing.
I'm going to contradict one thing you said, Kenya. You know what? I like people to post what they're doing on social media if they're doing volunteering work. You're posting you posting the spaghetti you got from this $100 Italian restaurant. You posting all these fancy trips you go on, but post that you're volunteering at the homeless shelter. Post that you help working out at the orphanages, because that really that really motivates other people too. We can always talk about the fancy things, but let's talk about the things that we serve too on social media. I think everybody should do that, because I think
once again, it's where you're coming from.
What
It's where you're coming from. If it,
exactly?
I'm talking about that person that we seen that they
Yeah,
post and they don't volunteer, don't give nothing, probably only stayed 2 minutes.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Those,
it's where
yeah,
you're coming from. And with the
yeah, but
example you gave, you're right. I think we do need to
yeah,
promote our good works if
yeah,
the heart is to inspire others. No, you're totally right
exactly.
on that.
No,
I'm
for sure.
totally
I
with
think
that one.
That's
yeah,
so true.
cause like one of my ex girlfriends, she was like, she gives a lot of money to charity and stuff like that, and she never talks about with her friends and whatnot. She's always talking about, I try to be low key about that, but you talk about all the places you've been, all the restaurants you've been to. Why don't you talk about all the volunteering you do? Because that can inspire your friends to be more active in volunteering too, or be more active in giving to charities. So I think now, it's cool to volunteer. It's cool to give to charities, and we got to start promoting that on social media. You saw what it did. You saw the ripple effect it did with our election, where it's saying it's cool to vote, and more people voted than ever during the midterm election. So we got to make that cool too on social media, because social media is one of our new platforms, and we have to embrace that. That it is cool to volunteer and do it.
I think you're
And you know
so
what,
on point.
Julius?
Yeah, I was gonna say I think you're so on point, and I love that we do need to use it to show the positive things that are happening. Because if you look on social media, there's so many people use it for negative. So many
Yeah.
people use it for gossip and everything else under the sun. And so it's like if this is the life that we live, if this is the thing that we do regularly, it's not for a show, then why not show people that to inspire them to action? Because that's what it's all about, really. It's about inspiring somebody to action.
And you never know where it's going to come from. Gary Gervais, they probably said his name wrong, Richard, but I know that Gary may curse. He may be like matter of fact in your face, but that resonates because it feels authentic. And it
Mm,
feels kind of like, you know what, let me look past the cursing aspect of it and embrace the fact that, hey, what the true message is. And I think what I was going to say earlier, Julius, is I think that, especially as Christians, we were always told, do your giving in private. Don't tell anybody. And I think that had a value, but listen to Rich's point. I think it had a value at that time period, but now we want more people to celebrate that positivity of helping and sharing just even more as you do with the other trivial things that we post on social media.
mm, I
And it
agree.
doesn't cost you anything.
Right.
We're talking about what are different ways. It costs you nothing to tell somebody, hey, you can do it. It costs you nothing. Even if you had a couple extra, pennies in your your pocket or change to give that to somebody, but also add a kind word to it, a blessing to it. We
Yeah.
talked about last week. There's a book that I read one time by Og Mandino called The Greatest Salesman in the World. And quietly and under his breath, he says to everyone he meets, I love you. What does that cost? But he said that it changes how he sees people. Richard, I think I didn't quote it, but earlier you were talking about essentially seeing the best in people and in situations always.
Mm,
Yeah, you always, there's this quote that says, if you don't see the God in everyone, you don't see the God at all. So you have
Yeah.
to see the God in everyone, or the good in
Everyone,
everyone. Yeah. So
so
everyone.
deep.
And it's tough because people can be so devilish and hellish. But I think that as we begin to practice seeing the best in people and situations, first it helps me. I'm gonna tell you something, Julius. We've had some challenges here and there, and it's not really big, huge stuff. But I always like Rich's peace and calmness. Rich be like, "Oh, it'll be all right. It's gonna be okay. Don't worry about it. It'll be all right." You're like, "Okay, all right. It's gonna be all right." But it's a peace that
Yeah.
comes with it, And it started with asking the question, Rich, hey, tell me something good that happened this week. Everything was good. It was all good. So these are different things that when we're saying that we're talking about and we're sharing and we're making it cool. How many of our friends or fraternity brothers have these kind of discussions where we all start sitting back and saying, well, you know what? Well, I do this. Well, I kind of give over there, not to compete, but to really say, you know what? It's okay to do it. I would have been a great golf player had they been playing golf in the hood. Well, my dad used to make me play golf in Detroit, but because they was playing basketball and football, I stopped playing golf. I could have been the first Tiger Woods.
well, you got the shirt. You got the shirt.
Yeah, I got it. No looking back now. But you know what's funny about it, Rich? You remember Arthur Horn from Delta Nu?
Yes, I do, Arthur. Big
Never
art.
knew. Never knew. I know you know. Never knew that Art played golf.
Yeah,
and
wow.
was so good at it that he got his college scholarship. In the back of my head, I'm always thinking that, man, because we didn't let that, because golf wasn't cool, we
Cool.
didn't talk. I missed opportunity. Because giving wasn't cool and we don't talk about giving, I might have missed an opportunity because at the essence of giving is the law of reciprocity, which that when we put this out into the world and give to other people, we get back.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And I think
agree with.
what's so cool about that is that is completely separate from faith. Like that goes for anybody. So you don't have to have faith to know that if you give, it would be given back to you. Like that's literally like the law of, what did you say? Reciprocity.
Reciprocity.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a great book out there called, oh, here it is right here.
Oh.
12
20.
the 12 universal laws of success, but it talks about reciprocity, cause and effect, and there's a list of them.
Yeah.
But though, like Julius was saying, you don't have to be a righteous person or a good person. If you save your money, you will have money. If you spend your money, you won't have money. It doesn't mean that you can be a good person or a bad person. So there's certain laws that we don't understand, and giving and volunteerism is one of those, especially as African Americans. I think we're not, I'm not going to say we're not effective because we created the rent party. We created, like, my brother and sister ain't got no money for rent. We about to have a rent party. So we know how to come together, but I don't think it's been done systematically and continuously so that we can maximize the benefits of it. Because in the Jewish community, we see that how many times the dollar cycles around the community. Because it's about reaping, sowing, service, and help. And I think that as we understand what self-love, understand who our creator is, understand who we are, and understand our roles towards our responsibilities towards each other, we'll see healing in our own lives.
Yeah.
We'll see edification in different areas that are being edified or being magnified. It's kind of like, hey, all I had to do was help somebody. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you stopped helping you. If you help you, the universe ain't gonna feed you because you already ate. Wait a
Wow.
minute, that was a good one. Let me write that one down.
That was a quote.
I'll write that one down.
Yeah.
Your new name's gonna be Plato.
Richard, I know you got a thought for me, brother.
It's great. We talked about, just being more impactful at home. And I want to ask you a question, Julius. You said you serve a lot overseas, but why do you do that? I mean, I know I'm proud that you're doing it, but what about at home? Are you doing any overseas? I mean, any volunteering work at home, or what's
Yeah,
going
I
on?
do I do serve here as well. And my specific ministries that I serve in here at home is the young adults ministry at my church. So there I have an opportunity to pour into, and I feel a call on just to pour into young men's lives here. So I do that through that ministry. And then of course, we have a lot of initiatives going on at my church, and I work for the church, so it's kind of like I'm just constantly, serving and serving the community and just doing those things. It's literally just a part of life. But as far as global work, I feel called to that, and I feel I just want to honor God by walking out what He called me to, and we all have a part to play in service and in serving humanity, and that is my part. Somebody else may be called to do that local homeless outreach or different things like that, and I feel like that's why another reason kind of why how Kenya was saying we need to show what we're doing so people will be inspired. Because maybe it's somebody seeing, oh man, he's been traveling the world and going to all of these different places. I kind of had it on my heart to go down to the local food drive, and start doing something there. Or I know these kids that always play basketball down the street, and I've been kind of wanting to connect with them. You know, Hopefully it'll inspire people. That's literally my goal with social media, is to inspire people to find out what they're called to do. I'm doing what I'm called to do, and I want everyone to do what they're called to do.
That's amazing. I applaud you very much. Yeah.
Finding your purpose. Finding your
Yeah.
purpose. That is it. So in the capacity of doing that, you got a couple minutes here. If it's okay with you guys, I want to ask this question because something popped in my head while you were talking, Julius.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that you have as it relates to serving, and helping develop and mentor, young people? What are some of your challenges you're having?
Um, Capacity. Yeah, I feel like there's, you know, we have to, when it comes to other people and pouring into them in that sort of way, you have to trust God ultimately. You can't do everything and you can't be everywhere at every time and every opportunity. But the ones that you do get and you just have to be intentional. And I'm working on being more intentional with the people in my sphere of influence because I know that God has placed the people there for a reason. So it's just about being intentional.
Richard, can I bug you a little bit?
Do it. Do it.
No, because when he says being more intentional, I've heard you say that so many times in past shows. Can you expand on that a little bit?
And that's something I work with also because I teach a lot also, and so sometimes when you teach people, you could tell people to do certain things, or you could try to like, be a little bit preachy sometimes, or
Yeah.
just try to convey a message. But at the end of the day, you got to learn how to be able to teach without even saying words. And the best way
Yeah.
is through your intentions, and people feel your intentions even more so than your words. And what I mean by your intentions, by like what do you intend? I know I'm using the word to define the word, but what do you really mean by saying that word, or doing this, and then let people feel that, this maybe sound very metaphysical, but it works because people pick up on the subtle clues such as the body movements, just like the difference in your another person's heart rate or whatnot. All these subtle clues make people feel your intention, and this is given in a scientific explanation, but even deeper than a scientific explanation, I believe that human beings are connected through deeper than just words, and we connect almost through telepathy. So I know that's deep, but but
Right.
but I think that when you really have true meaning to what you say, and an intent of what you're saying, you can really affect and impact people more than just saying do this, do that, or preaching to them and saying it's good to do this, it's bad to do that. And after a while, people tune out because no, at the end of the day, everybody is. It's like the number one rule of sales. Well, always be closing the number one rule. But the second number one rule is everybody wants to buy, but no one wants to be sold. Everybody wants to be learned, but nobody wants to be preached to. So you gotta learn how to inspire and teach people through the non words, through the intention. So
Or through
And
your
that's so
act.
true. Because as a
yeah.
person that I've always thought of myself as being a charismatic leader,
Mm,
I found out that helped or worked at lower levels of my career. But
yeah.
as I began to deal with larger organizations and larger people, I couldn't get people to do things just because I could be a nice guy and they thought I was cool. I actually had to deliver on being a leader. I had to,
Mm-hmm.
do those things. Like you said, it couldn't be like, hey, I'm a nice guy and I want to help you if we can. No, I have to intentionally be present minded and knowing that this is where we want to go, what we want to do. This is what your role is. It was a change for me.
Mhm.
So I think that's something important to think about what you both are bringing up, and that's why I wanted to go in on that a little bit more. Um, you know what? Any final thoughts, Mr. Julius? Anything you want to share with us? Want to plug the website?
Well, what I'll do is since we're on Facebook Live, I'll put the link in the comment section
Perfect.
of our thread, and then we can go from there. The the site is like managed missions backslash last name. It's too long to
Yeah, you post that.
yeah. But I'm posting regularly, so if anybody wants to follow me on Facebook, that's Julius R. Lewis, and you can follow me there to see the links to my donation boxes and different things. This work will continue, so this ain't the first trip. It won't be the last. It's just a
Right.
continuation. Yeah.
Well, definitely plug it, man, because it kills me when I'm watching a podcast or something. They say, yeah, once you go to my website, it's can you cook at / I eat chicken / water. I'm like, what? I'm not going to remember that, man.
Right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Final thoughts, Rich?
Uh, I need that app because I need to stop eating sugar. Sugar's still my weakness.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you.
No, but I always believe in being limitless. I believe that's our true nature. We just have the mask of thinking that we're not limitless. So go out there, be limitless. Always follow me on Facebook or Instagram at Limitless Strength.
Yeah.
See, Rich, I've learned you just did. It's a tongue twister.
What's that?
It's a tongue twister. When you say limitless strength. For some reason, my top lip gets stuck. You go limitless.
Do it 5 times while holding your tongue.
Okay, that's how I'm gonna have to do it. Because when we're practicing, I always like. Well, the show today has been awesome, as I knew it would. Julius, when I'm thinking about different guests and I'm reaching out to people, and hey, I know some of you that I've reached out to this week and I spoke to, I want to get you on future shows. But when I'm reaching out to people, I'm always looking for people who I perceive to be doing something that I think is special, something that's unique, that they are celebrating. It's not something that they're hiding up underneath the bush. And for that reason, because you step out boldly to make this difference in lives of people internationally as well as locally, I wanted to be able to highlight you and be able to bring, the people that I know into your worlds, the people I know into Richard's world, vice versa, so that we can ultimately support what it is that you're doing, to help what it is you're doing, because it doesn't take a lot to send you $5, $20, whatever it may be, or just to send you prayers and well wishes, so we want to make sure. I wanted to, share this time with you today. I think you're special. I think it's awesome what you're doing. Hopefully when people see that link down there, they'll say, you know what, I know I'm not going to Myanmar or nowhere else, and I'm not about to go teach a homeless person how to do a resume, so I'm just going to give you the money. And hopefully that they'll give it to you, and then I know Richard has some things developing as well, but people will see that you can do something. Respect what you have is value. It may be $1, it may be your time, it may be your word. But when we're in this service to man, to woman, and to our world, one thing I noticed that those servants get beat up. So today I just wanted to honor you. Thank you for spending this time with us on the show. My website is www.kcook1911.com. Today's show is very unique. We got 3 men of Kappa Alpha Psi here. We got Mr. Richard Lawrence, the Almighty Sigma chapter. Myself, King of Cook, and Mr. Julius Lewis from the Zeta Theta Head.
Theta in the building.
And it's been a great time. Gentlemen, I love you. God bless you. To everybody that spent this time with us today, be blessed. Come back with us next week. We're wrapping up our series. We have one more episode